as an industry doyen, what do you see is the future of electric vehicles in India?
Electric vehicle technology in Indian conditions is not likely to give us the kind of results we want.
Hi everybody, the Indian electric dream is struggling. In the last 5 years, the Indian government has done everything to push the EV dream.
Nitin Gadkari said India's quest to have 30% of its private vehicles to be electric by the year 2030.
We are still far off from our 30% electrification goal by 2030.
Availability of charging infrastructure comes as one of the critical elements.
The government has injected over $1.4 billion into subsidies. EVs were taxed at a flat 5% GST, while the traditional combustion vehicles were slapped with an 18 to 40% tax. And when the government went bullish, every car maker launched cars one after the other, and charging point operators spent hundreds of crores to install charging infrastructure all across the country. Today, India sells 2 lakh EV four-wheelers every single year. But you know what? The Park survey revealed that 51% of EV owners in India want to switch back to petrol. Let me repeat that. More than half of the people who bought into the EV dream want to get out of it.
India's EV dream is behind.
People responded by saying that they're extremely unhappy with their electronic vehicles and would prefer going back to diesel, petrol and gas-led vehicles.
There's a gap between what we want EV adoption to be and the ground reality.
On top of that, 84% of the public EV chargers surveyed in Delhi were found to be non-functional. So in spite of all the government subsidies, only 5% of the prospective Indian car buyers are planning to buy an electric car in the next 12 months. This is the reason why, while the EV penetration in India is just 5%, the other countries are racing past 25%. And funnily, EVs were meant to produce clean power, right? But do you know, 70% of India's electricity comes from coal-fired plants. So the question is, if the government is giving subsidies, if the cars are getting cheaper, and if the companies are launching better models with 500-kilometer range, why are 95% of the buyers still opting for petrol over EVs? Well, this is where Maruti Suzuki came up with a wonderful solution, and it's game-changing for India and entrepreneurs in the EV space.
India's biggest car maker is finally going electric.
Now that Legacy has an EV, this is Maruti Suzuki's e-Vitara. On day one of its launch, there'll be over 2,000 plus charging points in 110 of the top Indian cities.
So in this episode, we'll go deep and answer 3 questions. Where exactly is the Indian EV ecosystem failing? How is Maruti Suzuki solving this problem? And what are the business lessons that we need to learn from Maruti Suzuki's execution? Before we move on, for full disclosure, this video is sponsored by Maruti Suzuki, but Maruti Suzuki has in no way influenced our research. They just wanted us to highlight their business strategy, to highlight the incredible work done by their team. And now, on to the video. First, let's try to understand why exactly is the Indian EV infrastructure broken today. People today, every car company in India is fighting a spec sheet war. All EV players in the market are trying to give you bigger screens, faster 0 to 100 times, and bigger batteries. But somehow the anxiety of the common man is still not solved yet. The biggest fear of the Indian buyer is not how fast will this car go. Their biggest fear is, अगर मैं highway में फंस गया, तो क्या मुझे charger मिलेगा या नहीं? If I get stuck on the highway, will I find a charger or not? Now look at this map. At the end of 2025, India had about 39,500 public chargers. But look at this. Almost all of these chargers are concentrated in just 5 or 6 states. Karnataka has 5,700 chargers, Maharashtra has 3,700 odd chargers, and Delhi is packed with EV chargers. But if you're driving through Bihar, Jharkhand or Uttar Pradesh, you are in a dead zone. Now while most people think EV charging infrastructure is growing, it's actually not, guys. Look at this. The EV to charger ratio has shot up from 8 cars per charger in 2021 to 12 cars per charger in 2024 to 20 cars per EV charger in 2025. Whereas if you look at the European standards, they stand at just 10 cars per charger. So on paper, the number of chargers are increasing, but the number of chargers per car is actually decreasing. So the infrastructure in India is actually getting worse relative to sales. On top of that, 50% of Indian EV owners either find the screen to be broken, the cable to be cut, or sometimes the software won't accept the payments. So do you realize building an electric car is a manufacturing problem, but keeping it running across 3 million square kilometers of India is an infrastructure problem? But this is where Maruti Suzuki is doing something absolutely crazy. You see, in 2012, Elon Musk launched Model S. It was a masterpiece.
All right, it is time to deliver Model S.
Try to make this the best car in every meaningful way, in terms of safety, performance, styling, fit and finish, just every little detail.
But the Model S is not why Tesla won the EV war in America. In September 2012, when there were barely any EVs on the road, Tesla built 6 supercharger stations in California. Wall Street thought Musk was crazy because why would anyone spend millions building chargers for cars that did not exist? But Tesla kept on building. And by the time they launched their mass market Model 3 in 2017, they already had over 1,000 stations. By 2023, Tesla had over 17,000 superchargers. And their network was so reliable that Ford and General Motors literally abandoned their own charging plugs and adopted Tesla's standard. So today, Tesla's infrastructure has become industry's infrastructure. And we saw the exact same thing in India in case of Jio in 2016.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I have great pleasure in announcing a revolutionary concept for the Indian market. All voice calls for Jio customers will be absolutely free. Our data plans go even further with an effective rate of data of only 5 paise per MB or 50 rupees a GB.
Before Jio, we had telecom operators who provided data at a cost of 250 rupees per GB. But Mukesh Ambani did not just launch a cheaper SIM card. He first spent 2.5 lakh crores or $30 billion into laying down fiber optics and towers all across the country before acquiring his first customer. And when Jio launched, nobody could compete because they could drop their prices, but they could not improve their infrastructure overnight. And today, Airtel and Vi are the only 2 significant players left in the market, and the price of data has collapsed by 50 times to just 4 rupees per GB. That is how Jio wiped out 7 competitors with its infrastructure moat. Similarly, if you look at Amazon doesn't have the best website UI. They don't always sell the highest quality products, but they still have 435 million square feet of logistics infrastructure, which enables them to make the magical one-day delivery. So are you seeing the pattern? In every technological shift, the winner is never the company which only has a good product. The winner is the company that builds the invisible layer of infrastructure that makes the technology trustworthy. And in 2025, Maruti Suzuki looked at the fragmented, terrifying Indian EV market and they realized that we already have the infrastructure, we just need to plug it in. So for years, Maruti Suzuki did not launch a single EV car. And do you realize Maruti Suzuki has such an extraordinary scale that with 18.23 lakh units sold, its volume is nearly equal to the next 3 competitors combined. In fact, they make more money selling spare parts than the revenue of some car manufacturers in India. But even with this crazy scale, they did not launch a single EV product. And finally, on 17th of February 2025, Maruti Suzuki launched the e-Vitara, and it was a sensation on social media.
Maruti Suzuki is set to unveil its made in India for the world e-born SUV. This is what they're calling it, the e-Vitara.
Electric Maruti Suzuki e-Vitara, crafted with advanced technology, the premium SUV.
But while most people were excited about the spec sheet, look at this. This is where Suzuki's real goldmine is. Over the last 45 years, Maruti Suzuki has built the most lethal distribution network in South Asia. They have 5,500 service touchpoints across 2,764 cities, and they service 24.5 lakh vehicles every single month. So Maruti Suzuki took their legacy real estate and weaponized it. Over the last few years, while e-Vitara was being developed, Maruti Suzuki has scaled its EV charging infrastructure to 2,000 plus exclusive chargers at Maruti Suzuki dealerships, 1,500 EV-ready workshops, and that too in 1,100 cities. And their chargers are present in every 5 to 10 kilometers in the top 100 cities of India. So along with the car, Maruti Suzuki made an even bigger announcement that they are launching 2,000 plus exclusive charging points right at their dealer and service outlets. Plus, they also partnered with 13 major charging point operators like Tata Power and Jio BP to cover the highways. So the total chargers are now up to 14,000. Secondly, they've literally solved every aspect of consumers' anxiety. And this is very, very interesting. Look at this. The Indian middle class has 3 types of anxiety with EVs: price, resale, range, and safety. To solve the price anxiety, they've ruled out battery as a service. So if you opt in, they will only charge you 10.99 lakhs, which is the same as the Creta Petrol Edition, with a battery EMI of 3.99 rupees per kilometer. So again, the biggest barrier to EV adoption in India is the price tag. A battery alone makes up 40 to 50% of an EV's cost, meaning buyers were essentially prepaying for thousands of kilometers before driving a single kilometer. But Suzuki's battery as a service model flips this model entirely. You buy the car at a lower upfront price and you just pay 3.99 rupees per kilometer for the battery as you go. With an average usage of 1000 to 1050 kilometers a month, that's roughly 4,987 rupees spread out in a predictable and structured EMI model. So Suzuki did not just solve for range anxiety, they solved for the moment of purchase, which is where most EV journeys were ending before they even began. If this is clear, let's move on to the second anxiety, which is the resale anxiety. If you know EVs, you know that in an EV, the battery alone makes up roughly 40% of the entire cost of the car. So if the battery goes bust, the car's financial value goes bust. On top of that, EV batteries age in 2 different ways. The first is cyclic aging, which means the battery ages every time you charge and discharge it. This is normal wear and tear, and it happens in every car. But the second is calendar aging. Calendar aging means that the chemical components inside a lithium-ion battery age with time regardless of the usage. So to solve the resale anxiety, Suzuki is giving out 60% assured buyback after 3 years. And lastly, to solve for range and safety, their product has a range of 543 kilometers and a 5-star BN cap rating. So do you realize, instead of burning money into educating people, Maruti Suzuki waited for the technology to stabilize, tested their product, and then they drop an affordable product backed by a god-tier distribution network. So is the e-Vitara the most advanced EV in India? Probably not. But history tells us that specs don't win mass markets, trust only can win mass markets. And if I'm driving through a tier 3 city in India at 11 PM with my EV battery at 5%, I obviously don't care about my 0 to 100 speed. I don't care about my augmented reality dashboard. I care whether there is a Maruti Suzuki service center 3 kilometers away, which also happens to be a spot where I can charge my EV. And that is the reason why Maruti Suzuki's business strategy is a masterclass in reading consumer psyche. Now, whether they actually execute this and dominate the market, we'll find out in the next 36 months. But you know what's more important? This playbook will push the entire Indian EV space forward in 3 ways. Firstly, it shatters the infrastructure bottleneck for everyone. By instantly deploying thousands of reliable chargers into tier 2 and tier 3 cities, Maruti Suzuki is encouraging third-party charging operators to improve and strengthen their network. Number 2, it forces an industry-wide price and risk correction because Maruti Suzuki has set the baseline with a 60% assured buyback and an aggressive battery as a service pricing. So competitors will now be forced to match these safety nets, which will hopefully permanently lower the financial risk for every Indian buyer. And lastly, it completely breaks the consumer trust barrier. When the brand that literally taught India how to drive finally vouches for electric vehicles, it turns EVs from a risky tech experiment into a normal household commodity. And hopefully, it will unlock the remaining 95% of the mass market. This is the story of Maruti Suzuki's late but dominating entry into the Indian EV market. And I just hope you learned something valuable from this case study. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube ever happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.